Hello, everyone. I'm Samantha Hissong, Rolling Stone Magazine's primary digital culture reporter, and I'd like to welcome you to this special event, which is part of the Sotheby's Talks series, organized in partnership with Intelligence Squared. Today, we will be diving deeper into the world of NFTs. In the Sotheby's Talk on the Power of Avatars, we'll discuss trends in the crypto world that have permeated pop culture. NFT avatars have become synonymous with identity, reflecting someone's position in a community. Avatar NFT projects are some of the most valuable in the ecosystem. This trend has gone mainstream with celebrities like Jimmy Fallon, Post Malone, Jay-Z, and Reese Witherspoon all using NFTs like Bored Apes and Cryptopunks as their profile pictures on social media. This Sotheby's talk will address concepts around the ownership economy, self-expression, communities within the space, creator royalties, and more. We'll define a few key terms such as NFT, avatar, PFP, and common language used in the space. We'll recount how 2021 was the year NFTs transcended the crypto crowd and went mainstream, becoming a symbol for artist empowerment and equity. We'll do all of this while diving into the perspectives of our panelists who each have unique roles in this exciting space. And of course, we will explore Sotheby's role in the avatar NFT space, shining a light on what makes these NFTs valuable. This conversation comes in advance of Sotheby's highly anticipated sale of works by the crypto artist Hackatao that will take place later this month. I'm delighted to have with me three brilliant speakers with whom I'm sure I'm going to have a fascinating conversation. In Puerto Rico, we have GMoney, a collector who owns one of the largest and most prized collections of NFTs in the world. He sold Visa and Galaxy Digital the Cryptopunks that they purchased. He was included in the inaugural list of Fortune's Nifty 50 of the 50 most influential people in NFTs and has advised major corporations around the world on their NFT strategies. The most recent was his partnership with Adidas. Welcome, GMoney.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Great, thank you. In New York, we have Kenny Schachter, artist, writer, lecturer, and curator, with an upcoming solo show in Berlin on January 24th. Welcome, Kenny.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And in Miami, we have Michael Bouhanna, Sotheby's co-head of digital art sales. In addition to his specialism in the young and emerging art market, Michael is driving the strategy and the curation of the NFT auctions at Sotheby's. Welcome, Michael.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Great. I'm glad you all could be here. This is really awesome. To kick off, I would like to ask you all to share and describe your avatar with the audience. Let's start with you, GMoney.
So yeah, my avatar is a Cryptopunk ape. It is one of the 25 apes that are in the Larva Labs original 10,000.
Love it. And how about you, Michael?
So this is an avatar by the artist Pack. When we launched our SOTHEBY'S Metaverse platform, which is our NFT dedicated marketplace, each client was able to randomly generate an avatar by Pack that they can use then in their profile on the Metaverse platform. So this is not yet an NFT, but who knows what Pack might do later on, because he's always known for surprising his audience.
Nice. And Kenny, what about your avatar?
I've created my own avatar, and I've modified an existing familiar emoji that we all know from our computers. And it's me in apologizing mode, which in relationship to my career and what my activities in the art world, that's something I frequently find myself in the position of doing. Hopefully I won't have to say I'm sorry to anyone here.
Hopefully. Or maybe it'll be good. It'll be exciting. Keep things fresh.
Don't tempt me.
All right. Well, let's take a step back. I'd like to ask Michael to explain this trend of NFTs as avatars. What's an avatar? What does PFP stand for? How did this all come about?
Avatars are like among like the most important segment in the NFT space and are like today like driving the current NFT market. I think that one of the reason why the NFT like community is very excited about avatars is because like it finds its utility mainly in social media, on Twitter and Discord, and like avatars are the best place actually to use then your NFT as a profile picture. Actually, we've been long using like since social media exists like the profile picture space in order to showcase your personality or creativity. And now, thanks to this NFT technology, you are able to own an image and be the only one able to use it as your avatar. So that has a lot of value. And then like owning certain avatars can attest of your social status within the NFT community, and you can showcase of which club you are part of, like for example, the Cryptopunk community or the Bored Apes Yacht Club. And but I think that avatars goes like belong that, because like they are not, it's not only about the image. One of the most important components, and that plays like a key role in attracting some interest from the NFT audience, is that some of the avatar projects sometimes have attached the IP rights of the image. So basically you can purchase an avatar, you receive the token, and you also own the image and the right to use your avatar the way you want. So we've seen some important brands purchasing an avatar and using the image in their packaging, for example. And then what's very important and original in the avatar segment is that there is like some roadmap creating by creators, and to ensure sort of a long-term success of the project. And this roadmap can be, for example, some giveaways to the token and avatar holders, or to like exclusive access to certain events, or to merchandising. And then finally, one of the most important utilities of the avatars is to use it to find some utilities in the metaverse.
Yeah, and there are quite a few topics trending within this overarching umbrella trend of NFTs, and you touched on a couple of them. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you said your avatar is an example of generative art, and so I'd love for you to really define that term a little bit more, and share maybe some other examples of what generative art looks like.
Yeah, so like generative in the context of avatars is basically the process of creating unique iteration of the same based work, all generated by an algorithm. Basically, for example, for the Hackatao avatar project that I will detail later on, the artists have designed 5 traits, like the crowns, the skins, the accessories, including like all the colors variations. And there's basically like billions of possible combinations of the same avatar project. And at the moment, actually, of the minting process, all the traits are passed like through an algorithm that then creates a unique combination of all the traits together that creates a unique avatar. And so the allocation to the buyer is very random. And this is how, like for the Hackatao project, for example, there will be 6,900 avatars that will be minted, so generated, and each will be unique, having different scarcity and all different traits, etc. And so when the purchaser will mint it, he might be lucky landing on a very rare one, or a more common one.
And what about the metaverse? How do NFTs play into that? And how is Sotheby's exploring the metaverse?
The metaverse is a very wide name, actually, that today is used to refer to anything that is like kind of art, digital art, crypto art, or NFT related. But what's extremely interesting in this new space is that there is like the emergence of some metaverse platforms like Decentraland or Sandbox. And I really see these as a sort of a virtual extension of the physical world. It's still, like, I think, extremely early and almost experimental, but the technology is evolving extremely fast. And today, the metaverse is composed of different platforms that can be seen like as games, but actually the experience and the economy around is like very real. For example, like you can walk through the virtual world, enter in museums, in galleries, purchase NFTs, wearable for your avatars, connect with the community, attend to events, concerts. And an important part actually of the NFT audience is very comfortable in consuming and enjoying the digital art and the NFTs via the metaverse. And it's in natively digital form. When we, like last June, we actually launched our like a digital replica of our London building in one of these platforms in Decentraland. And it was for us a great way actually to connect with the NFT community and to speak the same language, basically because it's very important when we do sales or exhibitions to make this bridge between the physical and the digital world. And so we've created an exhibition of natively digital that were 28 works that we've also exhibited on our digital gallery in the metaverse. And we've seen like a tremendous number of new visitors coming at SOTHEBY'S. And for some of them, like maybe didn't know what was SOTHEBY'S or the auction houses, and never entered like in the physical in our physical galleries, but did it through these new metaverse platforms.
It opens the door to a whole new demographic and lots of new crowds for Sotheby's. It's very exciting. GMoney, I'd really like to bring you in here. Not all NFT projects are avatar projects. So can you explain a little bit what are the distinct elements of avatar projects?
Yeah, so basically, and sorry I lost my voice. We're hosting our Metaverse NFT conference here in Puerto Rico yesterday. So we were up on stage speaking a lot. But yeah, with regards to avatar projects, basically they're pretty much an identity layer, right? So people will buy them, and depending on the rarity, depending on the traits that they have, especially with Cryptopunks, and you see this with other ones where people got a project that kind of spoke to them, or that, let's say, resembled them in some way, shape, or form. So I think that that's very much what makes avatar projects unique. And then in a more in-depth scale is the different rarities. And let's say you wanted a punk with glasses or whatever it is, you wanted something that spoke directly to you. So avatar projects in and of themselves are very, very particular and very personalized. What
spoke directly to you about your avatar?
I mean, I wanted a rare ape. When I got into Cryptopunks, I bought a zombie, and that is the third tier of rarity. I figured that an alien was priced. I was priced out of an alien at the time, so I was very much shopping for an ape for about a month and a half. And when I found one, I pounced on it. Sure.
And what do you think makes them as popular as they are? I mean, it's like you just said, it's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the personality, right? You see this in games like Fortnite, where kids will change their skins every 15 to 20 minutes, right? So using that parallel, right, you can see why avatar projects will be so popular in the Twitter space and in the metaverse.
Now, you are one of the main figures in the CryptoPunk community. What makes that avatar in particular stand out compared to others? And can you give us like a brief rundown on how they have evolved since their creation?
Yeah, so basically they were started in June of 2017 by Matt and John over at Larva Labs. And they have been, they weren't the first NFT project on Ethereum, but they were one of the first, if not the first, that had a very organic community built around it. And that to me is what really attracted me to it at the time. And when I started buying Cryptopunks, I saw a world that if, let's say, crypto art, and this is back a year and a half ago, and we didn't know that all of this was going to happen in the NFT space. But my thesis was that if crypto art was going to become a genre of art in the future, and that it would be featured in major museums throughout the world, that Cryptopunks would probably be at the top of the list of something that every institution had to own. So that's really what attracted me to Cryptopunks when I first got into them.
And they share a common aesthetic. Why is that appealing? Is it the sense of, excuse me, is it the sense of community that creates?
You're saying the Cryptopunks just in general, or Cryptopunks and board
Yeah, how
apes?
they have like a cohesive brand, a common aesthetic. It seems
Right.
like
Well,
that perpetuates. Go ahead.
yeah, I think you see that with all artists throughout history, right? Like you can take a look at a Picasso and you're like, I know that that's a Picasso because that's his aesthetic. A Jackson Pollock the same way. So I think it's just, it's just the quote unquote brand, for lack of a better term. And people, they like what they like. And, if you like 8-bit avatars, you're going to like CryptoPunks.
Mm-hmm.
There's something really retro about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'd love to talk a little bit about the market for NFT avatars. Michael, what are the key drivers of the market for NFT avatars, and why do these projects appreciate in value?
Yes, like the whole avatars segment actually fall under the collectible category in the NFT space and are clearly dominating the market and attention. Like, to give you an idea, like 5 of the top 10 NFT projects are avatars, and and are among the most important NFT projects in general. The top 3 avatars projects in gross sales, that includes Cryptopunks, Bored Apes, and Mutts, also by the Bored Apes Youth Club team, achieved close to 3.5 billion since January 21, which is half of the overall collectible gross sales volume for the same period. So it also shows that the market is extremely selective. What I think is valuable with avatars is first, like the historic importance some can have, like exactly the Cryptopunks, because they are and will always be considered as one of the first avatar projects minted in 2017. But now we see some new components like granting the IP rights along the avatar. It's something that is like, it's not necessarily a standard, but very looked at for potential buyers before entering into an avatar project. And this is one of the reasons the Bored Apes Youth Club are also very valuable today. The community and the key influencers of celebrity adopting an avatar project is also very looked at. When we see, for example, Stephen Curry or Jimmy Fallon entering into the space by purchasing a Bored Ape, it's creating a certain excitement around the project and helping the market then. And I think, and in the future, one of the main components will be like the utilities in the metaverse and the creators' long-term ambition for the project through their roadmap. Then,
what kind of utilities in the metaverse? Sorry.
Just like first to use the avatar in the metaverse, so it would be then your face in the avatar, and also if you enter in games, like there are some avatar projects that are like games where you can use the avatar and earn also some coins when it's associated. So there is like a whole gaming area also that you can use some your avatars from certain projects. But also within a project, there is like a very different range of value, from a very common avatar to a very rare one. For example, to give you an idea, like the Cryptopunks, the floor price, so the minimum price you can today go on in the market and purchase one, it's around, I think, $350,000. But the most expensive one would be like an alien. There is only 9 of them. It's the most sought after ones, and the less expensive one listed in the market is at 99 million USD. And it all depends of the scarcity of your avatar.
Great. Yeah. Kenny, what would you say when you're creating an avatar? What are you thinking about in terms of value? What makes an avatar more valuable to you, or what makes you think, oh, this will appreciate in value over time if I do it like this? Or do you not even think like that when creating your art?
I mean, I have to say, like, I've been making digital art for close to 30 years, and mainly I'm interested in art. That's it, plain and simple. So I actually created a PFP series myself, and it kind of straddled the fence because it was a critique, a satire of all of the onslaught of avatar series of works as NFTs. And I've never really done anything in terms of thinking about the money side and the appreciation. There's a video of me weeping about fear of missing out I mean, I would say what I did is when I created a series called Crypto Mutts. And again, it was meant as a satire. We're all a bunch of adults here, and we're talking about apes and punks, and there's unicorns, penguins, chickens, rabbits, pretty much everything. And my idea was to put them all into a blender and come up with this kind of mutt. So at the same time, it was what it critiqued. You see them on the screen. These are a series. Also, the Bored Ape Yacht Club are comprised of all male characters. So at the same time, I don't take, I mean, again, I'm going to contradict myself within my sentences, but we're not curing cancer, although art has been clinically proven to have ameliorative effects on illness and is utilized in various clinics and hospitals across the world to help patients reduce anxiety, blood pressure, and also requiring shorter hospital stays and less medication. In particular, there's a hospital in the UK, Chelsea and Westminster, which is accredited as a museum. But back to avatars, I mean, I think we have to take it all with a grain of salt. In many cases,
Sure.
these are nothing more than cash grabs, and they're all trying to, I mean, part of why Cryptopunks, for me, is art. It came first, and it's become a symbol of this entire genre of digital art and everyone else. So like I said before, the apes are all male figures. And when I created this crypto mutt project, I was very conscious about including people of all persuasions, sexually, and male and female, and for a variety of people that with the cultural distinctions that reflect more equitably upon our culture and society. So I think that, you know, there is a mentality in the crypto world where there's the crypto bro, quote unquote. And I just think I'm very much interested in the actual broader community of people. And through my teaching and my writing and my artworks, I'm very interested in helping people, shepherding people into this space, because as was described in the beginning of this conversation, this has very much been a place that empowers creators and makers to be able to enter, to be able to support themselves through their own endeavors without relying on third parties and gatekeepers. You see the word gatekeeper behind me. This is the first time in history that artists have been able to take matters into their own hands. And of course, it's no panacea and there's no free lunch. You have to painstakingly develop an audience and to make a project succeed. But again, like, you know, sure, I need to make money like everybody else, but first and foremost, I'm interested in this community aspect, the educational aspect, and helping other people to get on board so they can disassociate themselves from the gallery world.
Sure, absolutely. You're widening the net and challenging the norm, and that creates value. Absolutely. GMoney, I would love it if you could chime in here. From your perspective, how and why are big companies like Visa starting to invest in NFT avatars? You recently teased a collaboration with Adidas. What does the entrance of big brands signal to the wider community as a whole?
Well, to me, it just, the main signal is that this is real, right? That when, as you start seeing big brands and big corporations start focusing on it and investing in the space, that to me, it says NFTs are not just a fad and that they're here to stay. I think the reason why that they're coming in the ways that they're coming in is because they want to do things that are very crypto native, right? You don't want to, you know, if Visa were to do some sort of logo NFT, you know, that's not very crypto native. People would not respond well to that. So I think it's their way of coming into the community, saying, hey, we understand what you guys are trying to do here. We get the ethos and we want to be a part of it.
Absolutely. It is somewhat funny seeing, you know, especially finance companies coming in when these, you know, represent a larger movement that includes DeFi or decentralized finance. So for a company like that to get in, you know something's working.
Well, I think part of it is, right, the dilemma of having to disrupt yourself or be disrupted into oblivion, right, into extinction. So I think that some of these companies and some of these the managers of these companies are realizing how big and how important this movement is, and it's either you fight it and you become irrelevant, or you can adapt and be part of the movement in your own way. And I think the companies that survive are going to be the ones that are most nimble.
Sure, it's interesting to see them wading into the waters in this way, and it just makes me wonder if, you know, in doing so, they're going to learn things about the space that they didn't necessarily realize that they were going to learn, and perhaps we'll see blockchain implemented in a variety of ways.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that there's, you know, I think I speak for pretty much everyone that I've met that has gone down the rabbit hole where, you know, it's like an eye-opening experience, right? It's like you see the world in a different light and it opens up a new world of possibilities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Totally. Okay, Michael, how did Sotheby's in particular enter the NFT market space?
Yes, so we did our first NFT sale in April this year. And it was a sale with PAC actually, and in collaboration with Nifty Gateway. And we sold, it was kind of a complex sale because this artist is known to really use the blockchain technology at the best and play with his audience. And he really is a pure like conceptual artist. So it was a great way to enter into this NFT space with one of the leading generative conceptual NFT artists. And at the same time also to meet with all this new NFT audience and learn from it. And then it was very important because our position within the traditional and the wider audience to really use this position to always bring educational purpose every time we do a sale or an exhibition or an event. And so we've done in June our first NFT curated sale, when it was really for us to do a retrospective of the NFT movement from the very first NFT ever minted in 2014 by Kevin McCoy into Quantum. And then unfolding with collectibles, we had like a very rare Cryptopunk, an Allied COVID that we sold for a record at that time at 12 million USD. And then we unfolded like all the different movements we've observed in this space, like the pop digital art, conceptual art, generative art, etc. And it was a great way, and always choosing like the leading artists for each of these segments and movements. And it was a great way for us to start educating our traditional audience, and also to try to understand like the narrative behind this new art form. And this is also when we opened our digital replica of our London building on Decentraland. And then we continued. We'd done another sale of the Bored Apes, dedicated, a standalone sale dedicated to the Bored Apes Yacht Club, when we sold 101 apes as one lot that fetched 26 million. It was also a way to bring into light like this one of the most important avatar project. And so our also current audience understand, our traditional audience understand the importance of collectibles and avatars in the space. We've done another natively digital sale that this time was very focused on the collectors. It was like we needed actually to bring another part of this ecosystem into light to our traditional audience. And I think it was very interesting to understand more about who are these top collectors in the space. How do they, like, what were their first NFT they purchase? Are they also collectors, etc.? And so we brought all these informations about these different profiles through this sale, where like 15 top collectors in the space brought 2 or 3 works for that sale. And it was a way also to demystify to a traditional audience who like about these top collectors in the space. And this is also when we launched SOTHEBY'S Metaverse, which is an NFT dedicated platform. So it's really for us also to continue being this bridge between both worlds by having maybe a more NFT native design of marketplace, but at the same time keeping the Sotheby's experience, the Sotheby's treatment of the consignment and the works we offer, and also the curation. That's our most important component. And to give you an idea of the market, since we entered into the NFT space, we've sold 120 NFT lots for a total close to 100 million gross sales. And we will continue through sales and educational program to try to bring more traditional collectors to the space and demystify a bit this new NFT form.
Yeah, I mean, was there any way to expect that these record-breaking numbers? I mean, even particularly with the Bored Apes, it's really astounding. Were you skeptical at any point? Did you wade in, or did you jump in very eagerly? Was there a point in time where you're like, I don't know if this is gonna work for the more traditional art side of things?
No, we've been like sourcing, and actually it's a lot, like we've been learning a lot from the community who are in this NFT space way before us. And I think we needed also to be humble that it's not, we can't use our business model for traditional art and just replicate it to the NFT space, NFT market. It's a different audience. It's a different appreciation of art. Everything is really different. So we learned a lot from our contacts and our clients and our friends in the community who've been helping in advise almost us in finding the right way and strategy for us as a traditional auction house to enter in the NFT space. And yes, when we source some of the rarest, like the gold ape we sold in the last natively digital, which is the 17th rarest ape that exists. We know that it will fetch an important price, and also like our clients understand the importance of this top of having a very rare avatar among one of the most celebrated NFT projects.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have quite a few friends who are not exactly crypto savvy. They themselves are skeptical of the NFT space. And I find very commonly I'll start talking about it and then they'll go to something to the effect of, what's the big deal? Why can't I just take a screenshot? Like, where's the value if I can just take a screenshot of a digital image? I'm sure you've heard similar statements like that. What is your response to that?
It's a weird, I think I find this weird because actually even like for any existing object, you can have almost an identical replica. Yes, with the digital, and only if it's like an image, because NFT is way beyond like just being an image. Sometimes it's a generative, it's a moving image, it's a moving image, or it reacts to external events if the smart contract is detected by external data. But if there is no way actually for for someone else to copy an image and put it on the same smart contract of the artist. So yes, there will be maybe another work that is the same image, but the smart contract won't be deployed by the artist, and it's like having a Picasso that is not signed and stamped fake on the reverse, basically. So yeah, it's the same image, but you don't get the aura and of owning the original one, and also you won't be able to sell it at the value the original one worth.
Sure, or having I've heard a poster of the Mona Lisa as opposed to the actual Mona Lisa. Right. GMoney, as a collector, what would you say is the best way to start an NFT collection these days?
I mean, I would say the number one thing is to just get involved, become part of communities, interact with people, and you just find what likes, you find what you like, find your tribe, and over time you're just going to be naturally gravitating towards the collections that speak to you, but then also the communities that speak to you. That to me, like when I first got into the space, I was interacting with people on Twitter, Discord, Telegram, wherever I can get those interactions and that communication, not only with artists, but with other collectors, and to see what they were looking at. And that to me is the number one thing. Is at the end of the day, we're all humans trying to figure our way through the world. And we just use the technology to connect us all, no matter where we are.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Michael, can we talk a little bit about the Hackatao sale? Can you tell us a bit more about what makes that unique? How is Sotheby's attracting traditional buyers?
Yeah, so we announced recently like a partnership with the very celebrated duo of Italian artists. They are very known in the crypto space for their very pop and figurative cartoonesque works. And they are actually among the most sought after works in the pop digital movement, I'd say. We recently sold a work in the last Natively Digital. It was a unique work, so a 1-1 that sold for close to $1 million. And their works, it's quite interesting actually that in the NFT space, this is the first time an avatar project comes from already established NFT artists or crypto artists, because most of the top creators today are known for their avatar project. Like Larva Labs are known for having released Cryptopunks, or Yuga Labs for having done the Bored Ape Yacht Club. And this new avatar project is named Queen+Kings, and they've created hundreds of traits that are very recognizable from their style, and they will be randomly generate 6,900 unique avatars. They will release the whole 6,900 through 3 separate drops, and the first one will happen this month on the 22nd and 23rd of December. And half of it will be accessible only to Hackatao current collectors, but also to SOTHEBY'S clients. What is actually with this drop, because there are many avatars projects almost launching every day, and it's really necessary for the creators now to be very innovative in some way using the blockchain technology. And what's very innovative in this avatar project is that they're on top of their very recognizable style, like they are adding a sort of a market gamification. Each avatar will have a number of traits, and each of these traits will also be separated as single NFTs that are tradable on the second layer of market. So basically the collectors, once he receives this avatar, he will be able to trade one of his traits that is featured on his avatar. And then it makes actually the collector to become the creator, because he will be able to chase certain traits to make the avatar he wants, either the rarest one or just one that he wants to have and use as a profile picture. And as part of our partnership with the artist, it was very important for them as well that we onboard new clients, new traditional clients to the NFT in general. And the best way actually to start an NFT collection is by owning an avatar. So we have 300 avatars exclusive to existing and traditional clients. We really want to see 300 new clients setting up their crypto wallet and starting to collect in this new NFT space. And so we will be the avatars will be available from the week of the 17th to the 20th and released on the 22nd on the Metaverse platform.
On Sotheby's Metaverse platform, not Decentraland.
Yeah, on Sotheby's Metaverse. Yeah.
Great. I think it'd be really awesome to get the perspective of an artist in here now. Let's talk a bit about the creators and artists in the NFT space. Kenny, as an artist, how do you approach creating an NFT avatar?
Well, like I said, I've done one project, and I don't really approach it with the notion of doing an avatar per se. I'm interested in creating art, and I just curated a section for Gallery Nagel Draxler in the Basel Miami Art Fair. And I'll have an exhibition in January at the gallery in Berlin. So right now, collectibles and PFP avatars are approximately 70% of the entire NFT market, and art is under 10%. So I think I'm way more interested in expanding this kind of foundation of participation by artists, conceptual artists, artists of all stripes, from all walks of life. So I think one of the most important areas for growth and of interest to me are artists that are employing digital means to create their artworks and using NFTs and blockchain as the content of their works and as a tool to disseminate them.
Yeah, I mean, what excites you about NFTs in general? I mean, like, could you explain the difference to you between bringing an NFT into the market compared to a work in the traditional contemporary market? Like, there must be something about the NFT art that makes you go, okay, this is worth getting into, because otherwise you would just continue making traditional art or
Well,
traditional
I
art.
mean, the word community has been mentioned. Look, before social media and Instagram in particular, artists had no way to express themselves beyond
Mhm.
sending a photographic representation of what they do from one person to another via snail mail. So once social media came into force, artists were able to blur geographical boundaries. The art world is very exclusionary. It's all about hierarchies and building boundaries. So social media enabled people to communicate from a broad base about what they're doing to a much wider audience. And not until the advent of NFTs was there an actual marketplace which exists and is open 24/7, where artists can, without any assistance or being accepted, can dip in and participate. So it's for me, and also when I created my single avatar project, Mutts, it was actually meant to be a real participatory arts club where people have access to my writing beyond the paywall at ArtNet, where I typically write. We've had meetings so far in New York and Miami and sharing information about the art world. And look, right now there's two parallel universes. There's the crypto world, and which is a $2 trillion market cap in Bitcoin alone, and the traditional fine art world. As of now, there's been very little coinciding of these. Once in a while, they butt heads together, but pretty much they're two very distinct universes. And the reason you see Sotheby's and Christie's being so proactive, it's because the gallery system has been very reticent and has been pretty much been fearful of change, and almost as a territorial defense mechanism, rejected embracing this new technology and how it affects and influences artists. So really, I'm just interested in personally helping people to get involved. Anyone who uses computers in any capacity, I think, are ideally suited to this phenomenon. And I believe that in the short term, it's going to expand way beyond these kind of endless series of 10,000 pieces and avatars alone to encompass all kinds of creative output from an extraordinarily wide, varied group of artists from all corners of the globe.
Sure, it seems like it allows the artist to be more independent as a business person, like less ring kissing. But also I feel like, there are more opportunities to create maybe different price points to attract different types of fans, people that, couldn't spend as much on a giant painting, maybe, or giant physical work. Maybe they can get in on a certain tier of NFT that an artist will do. And then on top of it, I feel like the idea of an artist royalty is groundbreaking. Like the idea that anytime your piece of work is resold, you the artist gets a percentage every single time.
Right. So I think you've touched upon some really important aspects. The royalty provision is extraordinary, and it's nothing short of revolutionary. And again, the most incredible thing is that these contracts, a smart contract, which is a contract embedded on a crypto token like Ethereum, Tezos, or Algo, or Solana, Polygon, the resale royalty they're called trustless contracts. The art world is a world built on a lot of misinformation and lies. And what's extraordinary about NFTs are that when you do a transaction, the money is automatically apportioned to the artist and the royalty right. And also, it's a great misconception to think even paintings, big paintings, small paintings, or NFTs. I bought some my NFTs minted at well under $100 each. I think accessibility is one of the key components. We always hear in the news about things selling, whether it's a Da Vinci for 450 million or NFTs for 70 million. And Pac, who's amazing, just did a release for 92 million over a couple of days. And nevertheless, I mean, I purchased extraordinary works by artists like a woman, Sarah Friend, who's Canadian, based in Berlin, for $35. At the same time, I bought paintings off of Instagram for well under $500. So I think I'm most interested at this level of accessibility where it's not just the high end of the market that draws me in. In fact, it's the opposite. It's the accessibility and the democratization of this new art form.
Absolutely. GMoney, as you own one of the most valuable ape avatars, tell us how you established yourself as one of these top collectors, and how did you create sort of a brand around your avatar, and how are you using it?
Yeah, so the way I started my collection was I was just trying to find things that I thought were historically significant that I also appreciated from an art perspective. And, you know, that number was, especially a year ago, a year and a half ago, there was a lot of art that I thought would become really relevant in the long term. With regards to building a brand, I think I was seeing the world in a different way than most people around a year ago. And, you know, I wrote this Twitter thread after I purchased my ape, talking about the digital flex and, you know, describing phenomenons that happen in the real world in social circles. And my thesis was that that would continue to happen online. It wouldn't be limited to just real world interactions. And, you know, I think I was able to describe things in a way that all humans inherently understand, but weren't able to kind of put to paper yet. And that's kind of where my brand started from. You know, when I wrote that thread, I think I said to myself, if I got to 10,000 followers by the end of the year, I would consider what I was doing a success. Was because at that point I wanted to help onboard people to understand NFTs. And so I realized it was around that time where if I had a 20-minute conversation with somebody, I'd be able to get them from thinking NFTs are stupid to I at least understand the value of an NFT. Whether or not I choose to buy one is a different question. And I was like, well, if I'm going to go around having this conversation with each and every person I meet or in small groups, it will take me like, you know, whatever, 10 million years to convince everyone in the world. So I was like, all right, let me start a Twitter platform. Let me start my Twitter account. So I have this social platform that I can kind of say what I was thinking to large groups of people. And, you know, it really took off on its own. I never expected it to get as big, as quick as it did. And, you know, at this point too, is my focus is to just, how do we get to 100 million users for NFTs? Because I think that will be the gateway drug for crypto. You know, I think NFTs are the Trojan horse that brings people into the space. So to me, that was what I was working for, and that's still what I am working for. And that's how I've been using my brand. Is I just want people to understand that art is one specific vertical in the NFT market, but the NFT market will be much larger than that.
Now, unless I'm mistaken, unless you've had some crazy work done, that's not your actual face. So I'd love to ask you, like, what role does privacy, what role does being anonymous play? What does that mean to you in this space? Why do you prefer to stay anonymous?
Yeah, so I've always operated under the assumption that I at some point I'll be fully doxxed. Most people that meet me know who I am. But when I first was coming into the space, I have a very unique name that's very easy to find online. So I wanted to go with a nickname that I had that would be a little bit harder, just for my own personal security, right? Like it's that's one of the things that's part of being in crypto is when you do have that self-custody, there's also that risk. So that's just I don't want to. I wanted to lower the surface area of hackers and attack vectors. I think anonymity is important if people want it. I am becoming more and more of a public figure, so that anonymity is becoming less and less for me as the day goes by. But I'm okay with that because ultimately my mission is to help onboard those next 100 million people into crypto. And if I have to become doxxed for that, then so be it.
Well, thanks for that. Thanks for being willing to be doxxed. As a last question, I would love to hear from all our speakers what innovations and trends you guys are seeing in this space. Like, where are we heading? What's next? Kenny, what are some of your predictions for the space?
Well, I just think I mean, it's become, I've never seen anything grow so swiftly. It's gone from, in the past year and a half, the market's gone from 0 to over $10 billion. And again, like that's by far my main concern. I'm interested in just expanding opportunities for artists. And I think that like I mentioned before, I think the growth will be just attracting more people, reducing people's anxiety and fear in getting involved in a more broad-based way. And right, I would love to see a merging of more traditional fine art minded people with the crypto community. And I think in the next 2 years, this market will probably, in all probability, eclipse the entire breadth of the fine art market, which stands at around $65 billion today. So I'm most excited and interested about artists reducing their anxiety about getting involved and broadening the base of material that's right now, I mean, 85% of this whole market is in the hands of a very few people, which is not too dissimilar from the fine art market. So I'm always interested in broadening the base of people that don't dismiss this so readily as many people do. Yes, there are environmental impact concerns and various issues of, viewing your NFTs on your phone or your computer. We need more dedicated hardware to easily coexist with these pieces. And yeah, I'm just more interested in more interesting platforms that are more focused with quality in mind and consistency. So again, like I'm hopeful, and I have no doubt that this field will enormously grow and have a tremendous impact.
Yeah, and like you said, if there is that kind of eclipse, that just means that it's less likely that someone can say to you, "Yeah, your check's in the mail, artist." And then as well as or on top of that, what you were saying about the environment, like I'm also hopeful because Bitcoin's blockchain was one thing. That was, something called proof of work, which means basically in layman's terms, because we're not going to get into a whole conversation about that right now because we are at the end. But proof of work uses a lot more energy. The computer literally has to work harder. But we're seeing all these proof of stake blockchains. Even Ethereum is looking to become proof of stake, and that is so much more energy efficient. So hopefully that continues, that ball keeps rolling, and we do have a more sustainable future within this space because it is necessary, and I think it's headed there. Like you said, I'm hopeful as well. GMoney, what about you? Future predictions?
It's so funny. I was asked about this yesterday, and when I purchased my CryptoPunk, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy this ape right now. I'm gonna sell it in 5 years as for around $5 million, and I'm gonna be the first sale at Sotheby's, right, at auction for a CryptoPunk." And that happened in 5 months, and the price was way higher. So it's funny when we try to predict the future, just how off we could be. I think that every vertical in the world will end up being disrupted by the NFT space, and that's kind of what I'm the most excited about, and kind of what I'm here for. I want to help push that disruption as quickly as possible, either by helping people understand the space better, bringing brands into the space, or helping artists come into the space.
Cool. Michael?
Yeah, I think we are extremely early in the development of this new art form. And like this year, we've seen like an unprecedented growth of demand and excitement around this new technology. So I like including seeing some institutions like Facebook entering the Metaverse. So I think it will accelerate a lot, like this very high demand this year compared to last year, like will accelerate the innovations. And one of the main innovations I think should be also like in the Metaverse, and the way like each individual can find a space connecting with the rest of the community and consuming NFTs or avatar or art or anything through the Metaverse. And also on another, because we still see a part of, especially our audience, who's very extremely sensitive to the physical experience of the digital art, or the anything that is art related. I think, and we see also some major screen brands starting to develop, working on the development of an efficient display device for the NFTs. And I think that once there will be like a proper way to display the NFTs at home, it will change a bit the like for a part of it, for what's more maybe digital art. It will change a bit maybe the behavior towards the NFT and the digital art in general from the collectors.
Amen to that. Well, I think this is a really great place to stop. I just want to say thank you. My thanks to you, GMoney, Kenny, Schachter, Michael Bouhanna, for your amazing contributions to today's event, and to Sotheby's and Intelligence Squared for putting it all together. I hope everyone enjoyed watching. Thank you for joining us. And yes, head over to Sotheby's Metaverse to find out more about the Queens and King collection by Hackatao.